Good evening, everybody. Welcome to this week's edition of Southern Woods and Waters. I hope you're all having a great evening in together tonight with family and friends. I know we're looking forward to doing tonight's show, and I've got several different things we're going to be discussing tonight, but tonight's main topic is going to be summertime work for the upcoming deer season. So, you know, it's hot outside right now. A lot of people haven't really started thinking about deer yet, but it's really the time of the year that you want to get started and get going with this and start working on some food plots, getting your camera set up and moved around, and kind of getting everything in place. So out with us tonight, we're actually joined by John Ladd. He's with Royalty Hunting Products. Great to have you here with us, John. And you've got several products here sitting out in front of us tonight, things like what we'll use throughout the entire season, but more importantly, as we're talking tonight, off season, to be getting ready for the the upcoming year.
That's right. It's I look at it as really it's my off-season weapons. It's what lets you know what they're doing, where they're at. Don't waste the time, the energy. Yeah. You know, because it is hot out there, so you don't want to waste too much time and energy in that department, so to speak.
Yeah.
So that stuff that we provide always allows you to not be out there as much as you need to be.
Yeah, and the cameras, game cameras, as y'all know, probably revolutionized deer hunting as much as anything ever has. But the cellular, and we talked about this in my office the other day, but the cellular camera took that to another level
completely
again.
Different level. Completely different level.
Because now you're not having to go in and out of there and pull cameras and check and see what's going on and have piles of those cards everywhere piled up your truck and trying to,
and something else, a lot of people use those for security purposes.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? There might not be a deer picture on some of them. That's strictly people watching property going in and out.
Use it to watch your gate or your property, whatever. You're right.
And one of the things that our app does, it allows you to filter that out. That camera does know the difference between a human being and a deer.
Yeah.
It just, the algorithms are in that.
The technology that's out there is incredible.
I mean, it will literally tell you exactly what it is.
Yeah. Well, to explain a little bit what we're talking about, with this camera, like what's here in front of it, this is a cellular camera. And so what happens is you have this set up in the woods, and a deer comes by, and in the case of using it as a deer camera, it's going to take a picture, it's going to send it right to your phone, your app there, and it's right now. I mean, it's, hey, the deer's standing there right now.
While you're at work.
While you're at work or whatever you're
frustrating
doing. That's when he always shows up.
And of course, the other thing it'll do is you'll go to one stand and it'll buzz and tell you that you're at the wrong location.
You're at the wrong stand.
And of course, then you're mad and want to just give it up for the day, but still sit out there and enjoy your time in the woods.
Right. It does.
It is relaxing. For the most part.
They've cut out the need to go in and out, quite as much. And something else that you've got sitting here that we'll talk a little bit more about too as we go through the night is another way to be even less invasive, and that's the solar panel setup. And this can be pre-charged, and then so after you get it pre-charged, you're going to set it out and obviously get it, sun exposure. And between that and the batteries, I would say, you're probably good to go for the summer.
You're good to go.
Just leave it alone.
We recommend that you use a good battery internally, and it takes a 12 AA. We prefer a lithium battery just because it's a better battery. It's just you're going to get longevity out of it. But we also have cords and things, so if you want to run an external battery as well as your solar panel, we have setups that are set up where you literally do not have to go back to it. I have cameras that I have not seen physically touched in probably 20 months.
And you can't beat that. I mean, you can't, because that's what it's all about, is not being invasive and still knowing what's going on. And you hit on something that I've talked about a few times in the past, but batteries, especially with these game cameras, that is something that you do not want to cheap out on. Like, if I'm getting batteries for the remote at home or something, I might get some dollar store batteries or something. There's nothing wrong with that. But with these cameras, you truly do want to buy a name brand,
good battery,
a good quality battery, one of the more expensive ones, because I promise it will make a dramatic effect. If you're not running one of these panels especially, it will make a dramatic effect on the longevity of the battery. And that's the whole purpose of this setup, is to get in there, get it set, and get out, and you're done. You leave it alone. So
just minimum foot traffic in there is always going to be, in my opinion, the way that I was always taught, is not to be there no more than necessary, and your success rate is going to go up because of that. It's just sheer logic on that.
And you see these videos of like the crime that happened at the gas station or whatever, and they're all fuzzy and everything. That's not the case.
That's not the case with these.
I mean, and y'all are going to get to see that here in the next segment. As a matter of fact, some great examples that have been taken off these very cameras. But I mean, this is crystal clear.
Right, and the big thing with it is a transmitted photo. It's not a special monitor with a special computer that has anything. You know, you can take that SD card and you're always going to get a pure image, because we talked about, you know, photo compression and decompression.
Right. Every time it's sent.
Every time it's compressed and sent, it's like you missing some luggage, so to speak. You don't get every little pixelation that's there. So with ours, it really is a transmitted true image that comes directly to your phone, that you can take your fingers and you can blow it up and you can physically see that image without and it's just pixelation is the proper name for that.
Right.
But ours is very proud of what we've accomplished with no one looking.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So now, when we were looking at this stuff the other day at the office, I noticed there's video on there too.
Sure.
And some of it had sound on it.
Yes,
Am I right about that?
It has sound capability as well as video that will transmit.
I mean, that's incredible right there. Just to be able to get a video in sound live. I mean, you know, you can imagine, you know, during the rut, for example, and this wasn't a live cell camera, but years ago, one of the first video cameras I ever put out, I got a buck chasing doe around grunt, you know, and now that's going to come right to you. I mean, just right now, and that's when it actually becomes, to me, I think the most imperative is as you get into the, you know, late October, early November, and you're looking for particular signs and things to be going on, that'll let you know when you need to be taking off work.
And also, that'll show you something that might have been 4 miles away that popped in that night.
That's right.
That might hang out for 48 hours.
That's right. You're going to catch some travelers that we call the traveler bug, and you're going to know then. You're not going to have to wait a week to go pull a card and then go, man, never seen that one before.
And he's gone.
Right.
With this setup the way it is, you're getting it instantaneous.
Right.
Well, as close to instantaneous as it can be transmitted. You know then that that's a new deer. He's there. He's made 3 passes through that scrape, and so you know that he is holding, probably holding within a couple hundred yards of that particular area, and you can capitalize that because it's telling you where to be and when to be there.
And the key is that, you know, if you can be in the woods tomorrow, you need to be.
That's right.
I mean, that's the key to it, and you don't have to worry about being in there bothering them every day. That it'll give you a lot of intel, and you want to set them. You know, I get a lot of questions about where do I set cameras. You know, how do we set them? Of course, you've got your obvious ways. We still have a few mineral sites out. I don't rely on them like I used to, but a mineral site's good. But I really like a fence crossing is a great place to put one. Anywhere they're going to use year-round. We have a creek crossing at one of our places that we keep a camera. It's nothing but just where it's just a more clear area, and the creek
it's just a path of least resistance.
Yeah, and it's a great way to see what's going on your property. And at some point, even if you hadn't got a buck yet this time of year, they'll show. You know, they'll show up. He just hadn't walked past that camera yet, and they also have such a small. You know, the amount that they move this time of year, they still get up and move the same. They're still going to get up and stretch, and they're going to eat, and they're going to do their thing. But they might do it in a little 10-acre, you know, patch of ground all day long this time of year. That's right. So if you don't have that camera, so the key is keeping it out there all the time, being patient. And at some point, if you'll use main crossings in areas that all the deer use, and sometimes with a big crossing, if you'll find a small crossing nearby, something that's not nearly as beat down, a lot of times that's where your bucks will cross, and you can set up that way. But that is actually what we like to do as far as setting them up and having them in. Is there anything you would add to that as far as areas you like to set them?
No, the path of least resistance is a big deal with them. I mean, no more than, you know, you or I going up a steep hill. There's no reason to do that. It's really is. They're trying to not, you know, really use as much. You know, they're trying to save as much energy as possible at this time. When it's 90 degrees, you got to remember they're still wearing a fur coat that they wear in the winter,
and
so they're not moving. So they're going to be close to the water. A lot of times it's just crossings. I still put mine in the pinch points. I still put mine where I know they're just traveling, and I know that they're bedding close. A lot of times this time of the year, I put that closer to a bedding area. I know they're going to hit the beans. Everybody watches them in the beans. We love watching that.
That's right.
But really, one of the big things that I personally do, as far as like I never set that bad boy facing west. I mean, there's little things that I know the crossing's there, but it still needs to face the east. Otherwise, you're going to get a bunch of sunbursts.
That's right.
And they're pretty pictures. Don't get me wrong. I mean, they really are fantastic pictures.
And it can trip your camera sometimes.
It will trip the cameras as well, and then you're going to get those alerts that aggravate you that it's setting off. So
well, I mean, that does, it makes a big difference in how you set them. You want to watch out for direction of sun, so, you know, as you mentioned.
Absolutely.
You also want to watch out for any little limbs that might not be in the way right now, but when the wind hits it, you know, because that's, used to, you'd go check a camera after 3 or 4 weeks and find out you got 1,000 pictures of a limb.
1,000 pictures of a...
now you just get 1,000 pictures sent to you over and over and over. So, I mean, you want to pay real close attention to that.
And with our app, you can turn that alert off. You can make it stop buzzing, but you still got to, you still have a camera out there that's taking pictures of a limb, so you need to probably go ahead and get turned around and go back in there.
You want to keep a, keep a good eye on that.
Always trim that stuff back.
Get it out of the way and keep them cleared up. Now, this time of year, my main focus, as anybody's really should be right now, I know it's not quite time yet, but velvet will be here before we know it. And you need to be focusing on food. These cameras need to be set up on food sources. It's going to change soon, but you hit on one key thing, and that is beans. If you have beans nearby, beans are king, no doubt about it. This time of year, you know, acorns aren't doing you any good. Any kind of green field, beans, things like that are a great place to be. Honeysuckle patches, different
probably
places.
Need a little more rain wouldn't hurt either.
A little more rain. Now, just to key in on that just a second, that's where the little watering holes come in handy, where you've not had any rain. Now, usually they can get their moisture from eating, you know, just from eating the foliage and stuff, but when it's dry, there's not any in there, and they have to go to a watering hole. And so you can take a drought situation and use a watering hole to your advantage.
You know, a lot of times, well, of course, I have sets that I only hunt early season. The reason I only hunt those early seasons is it is a fence line, that is a fence crossing that is water within 50 yards of the beans. And with, now, of course, I'm blessed more than I probably deserve, really. But where I'm at, they alternate those crops. So I always have those beans, those summertime beans, with that water combination. They just happen to be on each side of that fence, and I'm still hunting the fence crossing.
Because they're going to be in as tight of an area as they can be right now. Wherever there's food, cover, and water, as tight of a spot as you can get it. That's
the only three things they're really concerned about.
That's all you got to have.
We all know they lose their mind in November. That's just how they are. But right now,
it's all about their belly right now.
Right now, it's about survival. They want to be somewhere they can see and not be seen, and they can smell. And so that the bedding, the water, and the food is all they care about.
It is.
There's not going to be 2 weeks of ignorance.
That's right. Well, guys, let's go over and do this week's wild game forecast. This week's wild game forecast is being sponsored by our friends over at Wilson Bank and Trust. You guys can stop in and see them at one of 29 Middle Tennessee locations. Let them take care of all your banking and financial needs. And be sure to tell them thank you for all that they do for us right here at the show. All right, guys. Well, of course, it's been hot, Dayton, but we've had some rain. Some things have changed. We had a good morning this morning, didn't we?
Oh, man, it was a blast.
We got out this morning, took my little man out with me, my 6-year-old, and went out with Daniel Brown, our buddy over at The Real Deal, and took him and put him on some hybrid this morning.
On some threadfin shad,
using threadfin, and man, they are eating right now. But something else besides just the hybrid, Dayton, those catfish
are eating.
They were eating.
Well, they're coming off bed, you know. They've been off bed a little while, and they're probably getting ready to feed more, and they're, you know, hungry. Mainly 20 to 25 foot of water. And the catfish, they're nice channel cat were in there today. Real close to the bottom, as you would expect. And they were eating cut bait pretty good. We were using live shad, and then when they die, we drop them to the bottom and catch some catfish. It was well worth the trip there.
It was. It was all about the deeper water, though, was the key. Just finding where they were at in that deeper water. And bait was the key. There's bait everywhere today. And I think that's key right now.
We always emphasize this. You don't really realize how many fish is in a lake till you get a live scope out.
And man,
I mean, then you're like, wow, I don't know, it's a great big difference. It's full of fish.
Well, guys, we want to remind y'all to follow us on Facebook. Keep up with us there. Send us your pictures and videos. We're going to be right back here in just a second with this week's Pictures of the Week and some more Southern Woods and Waters.